So you might be asking a few questions here. First of all, why are there football scores on screen? Second of all, why is it not from this current season? Third of all, why am I starting in the court record when I normally start on the title screen for this game? And lastly, why is this a recording? Not like you could tell, but still. Anyways, so the original part 21, at least I think it was part 21. Yeah, it was part 21. It had issues, as in, like, the PlayStation crashed partway in. I didn't know it crashed at the time. Well, I knew it crashed, but at the time, I didn't know that the audio from the PS5 was not displaying anymore. And so, an hour of that stream, the latter hour of it, was silent except for my voice. This was 2 years ago. We are in 2020, well, 2025 technically, but this is the 2024 NFL season. That last, other stream was November 2022 for reference. And here I am redoing this, making the previous version of Failure Stream because Failure Stream didn't exist at the time. And so I just kept on going. I think I did mention in the original Failure Stream video that stream was a reason why I decided to make Failure Streams a thing in the first place. So I'm correcting that mistake of leaving that as just a regular episode. All I did was to amend it was just put in the description that, oh, this is pretty bad. So I've already beaten the game. The project's long been over, but here I am on a recording, not a live stream, fixing my issue, and I've got football scores on screen from the 2024-25 season because it's just gonna keep me a little more entertained because I'm going through stuff I've already seen. I still want to keep the original video as a failure. The reason being, it still has my genuine reactions, even if it's all silent. And just so you know, it's not silent right now. Like if I do this, you can clearly hear it, and it's picking up on the OBS. So let's get this going. I'm not gonna swap HDMI because I want to be able to quickly change the scores over when I can. Like I never did do football scores for Ace Attorney. I think the season was going on, like the 2022 season. I think I was doing scores occasionally, but not on Ace Attorney specifically. I might have streamed it on Monday, and I just chose not to put. I just chose not to put the scores on screen, or they landed on a Tuesday. So either way, this will be the only Ace Attorney stream slash video with any sort of scores. Anyway, let's go. And hopefully I can remember the voices that I had. I did watch a bit of footage from the ending of the previous session where we were interrogating what's his face? I don't crap, I don't forgot. Jeez, I forgot his name already. It's been so long. Freaking Vigil, yeah. I don't really remember everything that had gone on because I just watched the ending just to get a little context. Anyways, can't believe I still can't quite believe what just happened. No, I inquired with the bailiff after the court session was adjourned, and it seems Mr. Vigil was taken to the hospital to recover. Well, and now you get to see what happens when we get a score. Obviously, the Ravens is kind of, yeah, you know what? There. our first score of the game. Right. I'm still not doing flashbacks. Even though this is just them explaining what's happening. You know what? No, screw it. I'm doing it. Mr. Vigil attempted to commit suicide by jumping out of the window of the prison governor's office. But ever since then, he's completely blocked the memory of those events from his mind. Nobody knew his secret. Not his family, not even the man himself. But I forced it out in the open. Was it wrong of me to do that? Did I overstep the mark, I wonder? Now, one thing I forgot to point out, I do have the original stream slash failures on the side here, and everything I did, I'll still do in the same order. Like I go to one place, talk to this person, go to another place, talk to that person. I'll still do that in the same order that I did in the original stream. Rena! Oh, Iris. You're miles away! Anyway, I brewed a fresh pot of soothing tea for you. Oh, thank you. You and Susie have had an exhausting day so far, haven't you? Oh, and if the sound is inconsistent from previous streams, not the one that was silent, then that'd be why. Extra proof that this is 2 years later, over 2 years later. Oh, thank you, Iris. How thoughtful of you. You happen to know where Mr. Sholmes is? When we came out of the courtroom back in the defendant's antechamber, he disappeared. Oh, no, I don't know. He just suddenly sprang to his feet and left. All I said was, I must leave. What if he's pursuing the mystery of Inspector Gregson's death? You know what Hurley's always saying, don't you? There are mysteries in this world that should perhaps never be solved. The construction of a solution comes only at the expense of the destruction of something else. What does that mean? He knows very well that when you open someone else's old wounds, you often open your own too. He just can't take his own advice and leave well alone. Solving mysteries is too important to him. It's so true. That's what I like about Hurley, after all. That's the lot of a great detective in some ways. Really does have his thoughts in order. So then, let's have tea. I'll give you a hand. You have time, Iris? Yes, I finished this month's manuscript at last. With barely a day to spare before the deadline. I'm still looking forward to it. Brand new story to read the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. No, I always hide Hurley's violin in these days before I have a deadline. You do? Poor Mr. Sholmes. Sure, that's very wise, Iris. How sensible of you. We remember the last time that violin came into effect. Wait, I just now noticed. Is that a judge's gavel in the top right? How have I never noticed that before? Now then, my dear fellows, let's make a plan of action before we continue our investigation. Alright, I'm pretty sure I talked to her, but for old time's sake, because it's been 2 years. Look at this badge! Iris, have you seen this? Your armband? Symbol of a defense lawyer in Japan? I don't know, you showed me that dozens of times. Oh, have I? Thing is, I just feel wrong if I don't have it on my arm, you know? If you ask me, I think you should try wearing something different every now and then. Really? Like what? Well, I can make something for you if you like. How about a band that squeezes your arm when the person you're talking to tells a lie? Did I ever see this line before? Thanks, Apollo. I'll keep a space free on my left arm then. Okay. I'm actually going back in the footage. Did I show that to her? Hang on. I don't even remember if I like talked to her or if I just immediately left. Let's see here. I apologize if I pause here. I did. Okay, never mind then. Okay, I must be idiot. I could just move. Oh, I do have to talk to her though. So, how did it go in the court this morning? Well, I forgot. It's been 2 years. We still don't know the truth about what really happened, but things increasingly clear. Lord Van Zeek's definitely didn't do it. Oh, goody! Yes, that's right. Managed to uncover several new facts as well. Oh, really? And there's another development too. Cosmo. Yes, it's quite clear now. Cosmo-sama is not himself. The way he's acting, it's almost as if he's possessed. I know. At the end of the proceedings earlier, it was like a bloodhound the way he was chasing down Mr. Vigil's forgotten past. Not normally so mercilessly persistent. What's going on in his head, I wonder? I really need to sit down with Cosmo and try to understand what he's going through. Gregson really was really murdered the day before his body was discovered. But Von Zeeks has to be innocent, you see. What? The day before? Oh, it should be easy enough to work out. Just by examining the corpse, surely. Yes, you would expect so. Curiously, the time of death was included in the autopsy report. That is curious. There are still unanswered questions about Lord Von Zeeks, though, aren't there? How do you mean? I mean, what was he doing there on Fresno Street that day in the first place? According to the man's testimony, he said he was investigating Inspector Gregson, didn't he? It turns out that little room was actually the inspector's secret office. Secret passage! Oh, that sounds like it has all the makings of a wonderfully devilish plot. Then why was the notice board in there covered in all those peculiar papers? Papers are cases with a link to the Reaper. So I get a bad feeling about all this. Oh, Tina, that sounds more like something horribly devilish. Must start by looking into Inspector Gregson's movements of late. Gregson's movements? Never imagined I might have to be investigating an inspector's movements. Well, according to the entry in his diary, he was carrying out an incognito investigation of the Redhead League the day before. I forgot the freaking Redheaded League, man. I went mad when I first saw freaking red hair on Sholmes. I'm pretty sure that's happened. Yeah, that was like the beginning of the case. Oh, you mean he was doing the same as Hurley? Yeah, okay, exactly. Well, Mrs. Sholmes was trying to apply, whereas the inspector was supposed to be investigating. I do wish it had been the other way around. Anyway, as it turns out, the inspector who went to investigate the Redhead League that day wasn't actually Gregson at all. It was Mr. Vigil in possession of Gregson's identification. You know what that sounds like to me? Establishing an alibi. My, yes, you're absolutely right, Iris. But why would Gregson need an alibi? Appear that the inspector had something to do with that he wished to keep a secret. I don't believe it. I always thought he was just a harmless lover of fish and chips. I love my fish and chips. But perhaps they were seasoned with something a little more potent than salt and vinegar. They had ketchup on them. I think perhaps we should try to move away from food analogies. Well, anyway, if Lord Forensics felt the need to investigate Gregson. Yes, I agree. Let's try to find out what he knows. What was his condition? Vigil, you say? Isn't that the name of the lady who came to visit Hurley yesterday? That's right. To ask Mr. Sholmes if he would help her to find her missing husband. Only Mr. Sholmes completely passed the buck to us. Thanks, dude. Actually, didn't you say that Mr. Vigil had been taken to the hospital? Which one? It's Saint Sinners. So one of all the other hospitals in London had closed down. Yeah, at least it's not Hada Clinic.
That's amazing, Rudo. You found the lady's husband already.
Well, I suppose I have. By accident. 10 years ago, when Mr. Vigil was the chief warder at the prison, he was responsible for overseeing the professor's incarceration.
No!
So when the convict escaped, he was held responsible and immediately dismissed.
I really don't want to grow up.
I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. I'm sorry. There's more. For 10 years after that, while he was ostensibly working as a peddler, he also had a secret job. He was paid by Gregson to be a stand-in to impersonate the Inspector.
Impersonate Gracie? Why?
I have absolutely no idea.
Jeannie was right. So I think all the doors are up to no good now. Even start to doubt Mr. Sholmes. And you, Bruno.
I haven't paid anyone to impersonate me. That means he has ties to the professor and to Inspector Gregson, though. So I do think we ought to pay a visit to Mr. Vigil, don't you? Back to St. Centers, then.
Well, I think it's clear what we need to do, isn't it? Let's investigate, my dear fellows.
Iris, you're more enthusiastic than usual today.
If anyone has anything to hide, my special Wilson shooting iron will set them straight.
That water pistol? Wasn't that supposed to be a smoke grenade? Oh no, I'm thinking of something else.
Stuff full of piping hot extra special blendamide.
I'm quite sure it'll be very effective. I better be careful not to hide anything. Well, it feels a little strange that Mr. Sholmes is nowhere to be seen, but still. Let's go and see what we can find out.
Yes!
Would have been funny if they did the objection yes. But let us move. Okay. So the first place we actually I forgot that these were completely blocked off, but the first place I actually went to was the prison. Yeah. Hi, buddy. It was in the prison. I don't remember what time, but it was in the prison when the crash occurred. Lord Van Zix is reading. Look.
He doesn't seem like he wants visitors, does he?
But he must have noticed that we're here, surely. What do you Nipponese want? That's no way to greet the glory is trying his hardest to prove your innocence, is it? Perhaps not. Hmm? I apologize. So, what can I do for you, Mr. Naruto? Ah, it's so good to hear this song again. Van Six, speaking earnestly.
How the fog will lift over London for the first time in months tomorrow.
does feel very, very strange. Give me a sec while I'll listen to the song a bit. Jeez, man. I mean, he's a prosecutor by heart. So.
It's sardonic, don't you think? For a man such as me, so loathing of the Nibbanese, to be entirely at the mercy of the two of you. I suppose. It's retribution for having played the part of the Reaper all these years.
Played the part. And the music's gone. So, I'm still outside, we can't examine anything in here, but... You know what? I'm gonna do this to everybody for old time's sake once again. Look at this badge! I think you know this is worn by people in my country to show that they're defense lawyers, don't you?
And I think you know that I believe you to be merely playing the lawyercraft, initially.
It would seem your armband may actually imply some dormant talent after all. What about Zeke's? Do you mean?
Let's hope you wake up soon.
Yes, I was clearly daydreaming. Just thought I got a compliment there. Pretty sure we actually learned a lot from Van Zeke's here, but we'll see. You once told me that you gladly allow people to believe you're the Reaper because it helped reduce the amount of serious crime that took place in London.
If keeping quiet and playing the part of benefits the cause I myself am committed to pursuing.
Then why would I choose to say anything? The henchman of a criminal killed by the Reaper attacked you only the other day. And that it was just the most recent of many attempts on your life, wasn't it? Someone is clearly profiting from your silence about all this. Someone is using you.
Believe me, ever since the Reaper first appeared, I've been doing my utmost to expose him. Or rather, expose the organization.
It's a whole organization?
It's inconceivable that all these accidents were orchestrated by one man. No, the Reaper always appears to have very accurate information about the accused in each case. Which can only mean that somebody at Scotland Yard is involved.
Someone at... You can't mean...
It's taken me many years. I finally identified the central figure in this Reaper organization. Tobias Gregson.
No! Gregson, the Reaper? Music's back. And yeah, we're getting into important crap here. So the reason you were investigating Inspector Gregson is because you intended to expose him as the Reaper?
As I said, Reaper the Bailey is no single person. It's a highly secret organization with close ties to Scotland Yard. There's no doubt that Gregson was a key member of that organization.
I don't believe it.
You think that Gregsy? That he was behind all those awful criminals making there? Gregson didn't do the dirty work himself.
Huh?
He was a tactician. His job was to covertly investigate the marks and plot their assassinations. In order to do that without arousing suspicion, he'd regularly need a firm alibi.
Where Mr. Vigil came in, posing as the inspector.
Vigil knows nothing of the Reaper.
The room he rents on Fresno Street was almost certainly the headquarters of the operation. Gregson would have met the assassin there for briefings. So we don't actually know who carried out the killings then.
Actually, Do you have a name?
What? If you can't name a man, you can have the true identity of the Reaper already then.
Or if I can name the woman.
Huh?
She's a young woman. The name of Assassin.
Assassin. Wait, what? Shin.
Miss Assassin. The true name of a terrifying color I only know too well. Wink, wink.
Never thought she'd be brought up again. It probably did, but still.
He came to Japan posing as a visiting student. Married Dr. John H. Wilson. Did. Just when it seemed that diplomatic protection would help her escape Japan and conviction. Mysterious woman was herself murdered in a small summer beach hut. That woman.
What, and that woman is actually the Reaper of the Bailey? Just to know, Hurdle, perhaps isn't the place to discuss. No, of course not. Can't mention it here. The fact that she killed Dr. John H. Wilson. Because Iris doesn't know, and it's very likely that the man was her father. Assassin. Should let your father know at once. Yeah, I agree. That whole, I guess, like, I can discount that whole, like, spiel that I was doing there as just telepathic. Kappa.
Cosma, isn't it? Cosma Asogi. You say he's a friend of yours.
My best friend. He's the whole reason I got to come to Britain. It was all on his merits. I have nothing but respect for him.
Yes, I understand that only the very best students are selected for such opportunities. And a fine demonstration of how sharp he is in the proceedings earlier today. He missed nothing. In fact, his flawless performance very much reminded me of his father.
Genshin Impact, the professor. I probably made that joke already, but it's been 2 years.
It's true that the aristocracy at the moment was the root of numerous grave societal problems. They were abusing their power, playing with the common man and his pawns in politics, in economics, in war. In many ways, Asogi was carving out a canker from society that we British couldn't deal with ourselves. I see. And that's precisely why it makes no sense. Clint Van Zieks was a noble and upstanding man. He wasn't corrupt. Why does that damn nippities have to go and take my brother's life? In spite of having once saved mine.
A song you never got to hear, at least not in this moment.
Genshin and I were walking down some back streets that I laid out. Of course, at that point, I had no idea of the true nature of the man at my side. All of a sudden,
Don't make a peep! You're coming with us!
we were surrounded. All of our assailants were armed with pistols, faces obscured by scarves. Clint was not only from a noble heritage, he was a brilliant prosecutor as well. The scum of London hated the sight of him. They had no sympathy for his younger brother either. I've been targeted by several times before already.
How's Fonzie's alright? We got him.
I can hear them murmuring amongst themselves. And they're after me.
Just when I thought my time had come.
Let them kill you. Kids would never forgive me. There's a Sogi's voice. Just a whisper in my ear. After that, I don't remember exactly what happened. The next thing I knew, there was silence all around. Genshin lay on the cobbled street. Blood was seeping from his left hand. He shielded me. 2 days later, they arrested him on suspicion of being London's most notorious mass murderer ever, the Professor.
How awful for you.
All at once, I lost my brother I revered, and a foreign friend I held in such high regard.
So sorry, Lord Von Zeeks.
That's the end of my miserable tale. I never thought I'd recount it to everyone.
It's an Ace Attorney game, of course you're gonna recount it. Well, thank you for confiding in me. The Professor, the Reaper, Inspector Gregson. I wonder just how intimately related they all are. Still can't quite believe that Gregson was essentially the Reaper, giving assassination orders to Giselle Brett. No, Hodo, let's go and inform my father. I'm sure our government would want to hear about this new information.
I'm just gonna make you daddy, Susie. Ray!
Yeah, alright. Let's head back to the Great Waterloo Hotel then. Just making sure I did absolutely that. I need this to load here. No, I did not. Instead, I ended up going. Instead, I ended up going not to here, but to where is it? I went to the Lord Chief Justice's office next. Hiya, buddy. Old friend.
No arguments, Professor Asogi. You will continue with the trial exactly as I instructed. Is that clear?
Perfectly. It's Cosmo-sama! Defying Lord Strongarm by the sound of it. He never did know when to back down.
On your way now, Asogi. My lord.
Cosma. He left without saying a word. Yeah, it's nice to see your ugly mug again.
Yes, what are you doing here?
Well, I was just hoping to ask you a few questions, if you wouldn't mind.
I wanted Von Zeke's trial concluded today. Professor Asogi's unwelcome inquiries going to make him take longer than necessary.
Unwelcome inquiries?
As a result, I'm losing even more precious time.
Currently 2 hours, 55 minutes, and 41 seconds. 42, 43. We must resolve everything before 3 hours have passed, Mr. Norholm. Good luck. Miraculous, not even 5 minutes. Anyway, I can't let the man's obvious bad mood put me off. Need information. And I need you to lower this badge!
Your defense lawyer's blazing. Certainly means a lot to you.
Oh yes, it's a keepsake of my best friend as well as a symbol of what I'm trying to achieve. That friend has returned to us now, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh right, I forgot. Yeah, and, well, until it's time to return this to him, I intend to keep wearing it proudly on my arm. That friend is going to face you in court, Mr. Naruhodo. About that.
A complicated situation by the sound of it.
Yeah, complicated is right. I'm not gonna examine everything in the room unless I have to, because most of these places, barring the hospital, we have already seen in this case by this point, and even then the hospital we saw in previous cases. So, the Reaper. This is just for my own sanity. Does Prosecutor Asogi believe that Lord Van Zieks is the Reaper?
I wouldn't know. It was 10 years ago, in that fateful closed trial, that Lord Van Zieks made a name for himself amongst the judiciary. But the next trial he fought, he lost. It meant the ringleader of a criminal organization was acquitted, thanks to all the jurors being under duress.
That's awful.
Man's freedom was short-lived. It lasted just 3 days.
Yes. Let me see. He died on a rock slide at his place of work, I believe. The way you made that sound.
Correct. That was the inauguration of the Reaper of the Bailey.
People believe Lord Van Zieks was responsible.
He was brought to trial himself, but it was shown to have been an accident.
Must have had a solid alibi then.
Nevertheless, mysterious deaths continued. In total, 16 persons perished in unusual circumstances, ostensibly at the hand of the Reaper, including... I'm going to assume that also includes... What's his name from the first game? Freaking... Crap, I forgot. From the Irish dude that was the defendant of the third case. That's a long run of coincidences.
Well, the Reaper's shred may well be revealed by this trial.
And the impact that revelation would have on the British public cannot be understated.
That's why it's a closed trial.
Precisely.
And about the closed trial.
This country hasn't seen a closed trial for 10 years.
The last one was the Professor's. The trial of Genshin Asogi.
Correct.
Actually, we heard that originally you were going to prosecute that trial yourselves, Lord Strongheart.
Van Zieks entreated me to relinquish the prosecution to him, that I might avenge his brother's death. And here we are, 10 years later, and the Baltimore Ravens scored another touchdown.
It's a little hard to see the score right now, but trust me, I mean, it's kind of peaking out there.
With the son of the man who Van Zieks had condemned now looking to avenge his father's death in the same way.
Do say that what goes around comes around, and that history repeats itself.
However, it would seem that the new young prosecutor is harboring some ulterior motive as well.
Cosma is?
I like my organization to run smoothly, the exact manner that I prescribe. As with the giant clock here, I won't tolerate a single cog being out of step with the others.
By the way, how do you do that with the birds? So that's what all these gears are about in here.
If the young man refuses to mesh with the other parts of my great machine, I will be forced to take steps.
What? What do you mean?
Not something with which you need to concern yourself. In any case, All your questions will be answered tomorrow.
I need a sip of my tea.
Now I shall have you ask. Now I shall have to ask you to excuse me. As of this moment, I've been delayed from attending my next meeting by precisely 3 hours.
3 hours, dude. My, that's a long time. That means probably over now.
And I hold you entirely responsible.
Even though we miraculously managed to fit everything into not even 5 minutes. I wonder if you might agree to us talking with Professor Asogi?
Discussions between the defense and prosecution outside the courtroom are generally frowned upon. However, I will make an exception in this case. Now go! You can find him in his office.
Oh, thank you. Let's go see him at once, Mr. Naruhodo. Cosmo's my best friend in the world, but I'm not at all sure I know how to talk to him at the moment. Alright. A new location has been added. Prosecutor's office, which we saw in the previous case. Where did I go next? Oh, I went back to the hotel. Okay. Alright, well, if I go back to the hotel, then let's do that then. I thought it was yesterday, and I think it again today. This place is so princely. It's a wild guess, but I have a feeling you think the same tomorrow, too.
That tea has a finer fragrance than whatever they're serving in the tea room here, though, wouldn't you say?
Ah, look who we have here. It's an unexpected pleasure.
I've always loved this outfit that he has. Not that the Japanese outfit he had the original. This is so. Just looks so much nicer on him. Ah, father!
Oh, is this your daddy, Susie? How lovely.
What a charming young lady. And you are?
Iris Wilson.
Ah, really? So you're the author of the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, are you?
That's me, Iris Wilson, at your service, sir. Susie's been such a wonderful friend for me over the last year, you know?
Well, Miss Wilson, I must say I read your work regularly and with much interest.
Iris actually lives with Mr. Sholmes, you know, father.
Is that so? Well, perhaps that goes in some way to explain that bright look in your eyes.
You wouldn't be smiling so airily if you knew just how bright she is. Believe me.
Now then, young Naruhodo, it was a pleasure seeing you in action earlier. As an invitee of the symposium, I was allowed to observe from the gallery, after I twisted some arms. And I must say, it was a truly exemplary performance.
Thank you very much. Although I'm fairly sure you omitted my Cosmo on the other end, though. No, please don't understand. It was you who impressed me. I forgot that he can actually kind of read my thoughts just based off actions. Really?
Dear Mr. Step against Asogi. We all know how capable he is. Really, to have matured into such a fine defense lawyer in less than a year is quite extraordinary.
It's very kind of you to say so. And really nice to hear.
What I saw in court today confirmed what I've been hoping. The favor I mentioned yesterday, Mr. Naruhodo. I trust you haven't forgotten.
No, I actually have forgotten because it's been 2 years, but you did mention something, didn't you? First, you have something to report, father.
of course.
Should we take tea while we discuss matters further? You know, I just found out how fitting is that I actually have tea with me instead of just a regular cup of water. Yeah. I wonder where Judge Jigoku has gone to. It's been too long. Look at his badge! Look at his badge! Ah, Cosmo's armband. Who was wearing that when he left for Great Britain? How curious. It doesn't strike me at all. It doesn't strike me at all as odd to see you wearing it. It rather suits you. No. Are you intending to return to him? Well, yes. I mean, it has his name on it. Now that I found out he's alive, it doesn't make sense for me to keep it. Well, if you ask me, I think Cosmo would be delighted to see you wearing it. Well, I'd feel honored if that were true. Father, do you know about the so-called Reaper of the Bailey? I've heard rumors. Some members of the judiciary explained it all to me yesterday. Of course, when I was a visiting student here in London, the Reaper was yet to emerge. Right, it didn't appear until after that case when the visiting students had already returned home. Lord Van Zix, who was in the dock today. That was Barak, the younger brother of Clint Van Zix, I believe. That's right. He's known throughout London as the Reaper, as you've heard. But the truth is, wasn't him behind all those mysterious deaths. It was somebody else. I see. So what you're saying is, there's been a professional killer at work here? Exactly. Someone by the name of Asashin, in fact.
I beg your pardon. Did you say assassin? Means that just that brat woman who was responsible for killing my great friend?
Oh no, a friend of yours was killed! Professor Mikotoba, I think perhaps we shouldn't discuss this right now. The friend the professor is talking about is Dr. John H. Wilson. That's not something we want I was to find out about. Not like this, anyway. Well, we're gonna find out about it anyways. I've just remembered something. Biscuits! This hotel has the most delicious looking biscuits!
That was rather out of the blue.
She's doing this deliberately. I think I'll go and see if I can purchase some. I wonder, would you like to come too, Iris?
Yes! You just tried to leave me behind.
So that young girl is called Iris Wilson, is she?
Yes, that's right.
She's the author of all those adventure stories starring the great detective Sholmes. The name of the credited author, isn't it Iris? Is it? It's Dr. John H. Wilson.
Yes, I know. It's the name of her father, you see.
Her father? Dr. John H. Wilson.
I was deeply indebted to the man for all the kindness he showed me during my time in London. That's why I was keen to reciprocate and invite him to the Imperial Yume University 4 years ago. But he was murdered last year by the jail brat. Why would the hand of the Reaper stretch all the way to Japan? Iris knows nothing about that case, but it seems very likely that the victim, Dr. Wilson, was her father.
Well, I can't say we ever spoke about his family, so I don't know if he had a daughter or not. But I think I can say with some certainty that he was never the great detective's partner.
So, it could have been another Dr. Wilson, you think?
Well, John and Wilson have both common names after all.
Still,
probably best not to mention this to the young lady until we can be sure.
That's what we thought, yes.
We're back with cinnamon biscuits.
Oh, they smell delicious, Iris. Okay, so here's the thing when it comes to well, cookies. They call them biscuits in Great Britain, but they're cookies. Why am I getting on this tangent? Because I have to rant about how I hate snickerdoodle cookies, but I can do cinnamon cookies. Cinnamon, they just put a decent. It's just a sugar cookie, but you put a bunch of cinnamon on it. That's not bad. Snickerdoodle, it's way too much seasoning, way too much cinnamon taste on a cookie, and you can't do a snickerdoodle soft. It has to be like hard, which is the texture of a cookie that I like less. I mean, I'll eat it, but for snickerdoodles in particular, won't really enjoy it. I like a I like a soft cookie most of the time. Soft cookie like chocolate chip, sugar, cinnamon, even those like crappy store-bought sugar cookies with the frosting on top of them. I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about. I'll buy those. I'll eat them. I'll like them. I'm not sure if I can't really do snickerdoodle, and also I can't really do oatmeal raisin or anything oatmeal related.
I think cinnamon will go very well with the tea they serve here. Don't you, Susie?
Yes, sure you're right, Iris. And where did Jigoku get off to? I haven't seen Judge Jigoku for a while, have you? Oh, I still like how he brought his gavel with him. No, now that you mention it, I haven't seen him since this morning either. I suppose the symposium's opening was postponed. If the symposium's opening was postponed, he'll have gone to explore the great exhibition. That reminds me of something you mentioned yesterday. About Judge Jigoku having once been in the dock himself. Ah, yes. It was all tied up with that accursed trial. The closed trial of Cosmo's father. Seishiro was trying to mitigate Genshin's guilt, so he took the stand to testify. But he got a little carried away and actually managed to break the witness stand.
Oh my!
He also said some contemptuous words about the British Empire, for which he was charged. Oh dear. Well, it's worryingly easy for him to imagine him doing that, especially since breakdowns are a thing. Also, the Cleveland scored a field goal, so I might as well put that down. Well, it was all right in the end. It was a quit, and we returned home to Japan together.
Thank goodness.
Ah yes, talking of Seishiro. I have a copy of the photograph we all took here yesterday. Please. Oh, what a lovely picture! Why is it not in color? It certainly seems to shout, we've arrived in Britain. Oh, that was Ryunosuke, my bad. None of us had any idea what was coming when we took that, did we? No. No, that's so true. Favor. So you mentioned a favor that you'd like to ask me? Well, this fateful trial that you're fighting, one way or another, it'll be over before long. And when it is, I'd like you to accompany me back to Japan. You want me to do...
What? Father, what's the meaning of this?
Now, Susato, you should understand. You've seen how our courts work firsthand. Japan's judicial system is in its infancy, especially when it comes to defense.
You mean...
The Supreme Court of Judicature is in desperate need of a good defense lawyer. As soon as possible. Really quite urgently, in fact.
But I haven't been in London a year yet.
I've read all of Sato's reports, well aware of your extraordinary talents. Having seen you in action with my own eyes earlier today, there's no question. You, Naruhodo, are precisely the man our country needs.
So, you'll be leaving then, Bruno? Then, what am I supposed to do, Father?
I came here to serve as Asogi's judicial assistant.
Oh, yes, she's supposed to be Cosmo's assistant.
Our government is still in the process of deciding how to best deal with the situation, though. You've always chosen your own path, Sato. And I trust your judgment. In this matter also.
Father?
Please, the pair of you, don't look so downcast. It's merely a suggestion, you understand. A hope, if I'm honest, but I won't force you. All I ask is that you consider it and come to a decision by the time this trial concludes.
Yes. Alright.
You won't leave, will you, Bruno?
Wah. Thought even crossed my mind. So now I've just been trying to do what I believe to be Cosmo's will. But it turns out, he's still alive, so... Where does it leave me?
Well, if you excuse me now, I need to telegram out government ministers and Japanese police with this information about Asashin.
Of course, Father. Thank you.
I look forward to next month's installment, Miss Wilson.
Oh, good! And please do come to Baker Street sometime, won't you? We'd love to entertain you.
I will be delighted. Best of luck for tomorrow, Naruhodo. And give my suggestion your full consideration, won't you?
Yes, I will. Going back home, huh? You know, Cosmo-sama has always meant a great deal to my father. I'm sure he'd love the chance to meet with him and talk to him about all of this. Yeah, no doubt.
Asashin. Of course, it's so obvious. How could I have neglected to consider the possibility before now?
Mr. Sholmes! It's good to see your ugly mug as well.
Harley, where have you been?
Why, I joined you all for tea, of course. What an extraordinary question.
I didn't notice you at all.
No matter. Anyway, to more pressing concerns, Mr. Naruhodo.
Oh, yes?
I must dispatch a telegram to your country at once. It is a matter of much urgency.
To Japan, you mean?
Tell me, to whom can I entrust the tax? Quickly now, who?
Well... my father has just now left the Senate ground to the Imperial Police Bureau of Japan himself.
I see. Well, you look reliable enough for a bearded fellow.
I don't think what father supports could be considered a beard, Mr. Sholmes. It's a freaking mustache!
It's not a moment to lose. Kindly ask your trusty unshaven father to see this and sent.
I will, but what is it?
No questions this time, if you please, Mr. Sato. All we can do is pray that for once, my deduction is awry.
Doesn't that imply that deductions are normally correct, Mr. Sholmes? Which is exactly what then.
You may be surprised to learn that I'm a very busy man. I certainly have no time to hide behind cities and eavesdrop on other people's conversations.
That's what joining us for tea meant.
I leave the setting of this in your hands, my dear fellows.
Wait a minute, Mr. Sholmes.
He just sort of ran off, didn't he? At quite the pace.
Left the unpaid bill for his tea behind too. Oof! Let's catch up with father at the telegram office at once.
And I'll run and call his cab straight away.
And there was me thinking that everyone would be clamoring to pay Mr. Sholmes' bill. Apparently they all know freaking teleportation though. Alright, next step in our escapades. We go see Asogi. The prosecutor's office. So this is the office of Prosecutor Asogi now, isn't it? Cosmo-sama is doing so well for himself! Even though he's always forced to kneel on the floor, Japanese style in the dark corner. It's his habit to see his style when whenever he's working. Forgot the bats if they're still there. Cosma.
I thought it wouldn't be long before you paid me a visit, Rinosuke. I was right about what I said, wasn't I?
Sorry. This song is so good too.
That you have all the makings of a great defense lawyer.
Well, I always believed that you'd fulfill your dream of advocating in the British courts. Just never imagined for one second that it would be as a prosecutor. Seeing you stand in a foreign courtroom so gallantly at realizing your dream, Cosmo-sama, I'm truly happy for you. And I am truly
Thankful to you, Jujutsu Assistant Mikotoba. Rinosuke. I always thought it would be fun for you and I to shake up the British legal system a little together.
This isn't quite how I envisioned it.
But I suppose it's just another twist of fate.
I learned a lot of things during my time in London. Mahusa Sato's father was himself a visiting student here once, along with Judge Jigoku. But what happened with your father?
You have no difficulty understanding. Well, I had no choice. Well, I had to find a way to get to British as a visiting student myself.
I want to hear it from you, Kazuma.
As you wish, Rinosuke Naruhodo.
Alright, so there's a couple things here. First of all, look at this badge. Cosma, this is your armband.
Actually, I think it's yours now.
Sorry?
You're the defense lawyer. You have a talent for it. I've always known that you would. Now, you've chosen to take that path in life. As your friend, I couldn't be happier for you. Well, we're proud.
Kazuma.
So you keep hold of that. Besides, I'm a prosecutor now. That armband would have no meaning for me.
Yeah, well, if you're sure. Thank you, my friend. Now, okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is, in the original video, I talked to him, and I looked around the room. I'm pretty sure I looked around the room. But you actually have to present something in here. I'm not gonna name what you have to present in here. because I don't want to spoil the beginning of the next episode of me just going through all these until I actually figure out what to do. There might be something else I need to present right now after conversing. But for the purposes of this, I'll only do what I did in the original video, which would be talking to him, examine the room, and if there's anything else to present that I have to, other than the thing that I do in the next episode, then I'll just do all that. Now, should I start with examining, or should I'm gonna start by talking. It's getting on for a year now since what happened on the SS Buria. You know, there's a nice view of this ship, by the way. We're heading across the oceans from Japan to Great Britain. And he died. When a bizarre series of coincidences led to those tragic events. Death by cat! Or something like that. I thought I'd lost my best friend forever. Must have been unconscious for a long time. When I woke, I was lying on a bed. It was a narrow little room, with a posy of flowers by the pillow. It took me a while to realize that I was in the cabin of a ship. I slipped out of the room, headed up on the dock. Were you already suffering from amnesia at that point? Yes. I didn't know what had happened, or where I was. It was just this voice in my head. You have something to do. Something no one else can know about. Go to Great Britain. Your task awaits you there. It was a calling I couldn't ignore. Compelled me relentlessly. Out on deck, I saw that I was on a huge steamship and we were docked in a large port. Must have been Hong Kong. Yes, it must have been. Presumably just before they were due to carry your body off the ship. I had no idea of the situation. I did have the feeling this was in some way my last chance. So I concealed myself among the disembarking passengers and went ashore. Then I disappeared into the crowded streets of that foreign port city. So I could plan my onward journey to Great Britain. Just under a year ago, with all my past memories lost to me, I was left behind in Hong Kong. Everything was foreign to me. The sights, the sounds, the smells. My head reeled. It was truly a loss. It can't be that much different in Hong Kong than it is in Japan. I mean, Hong Kong is like a subsidiary of China. So, well, now I can think of a lot of differences between China and Japan, much less Hong Kong. I realize now that I escaped as a dead man, with nothing but the clothes on my back. No money, of course. Oh, how terrifying for you. Luckily, though, I had two feathers in my cap. One being your knowledge of English, I suppose. That's right. Except everyone over there spoke Chinese, so I couldn't tell what they were saying. And on the back of that, I was able to pick up some work as a deckhand on a cargo ship. Eventually, after calling at countless ports, finally arrived at Dover. That must have been some 3 months ago now. Your formidable tenacity of purpose showing itself again. Man had lost his memory and had literally nothing to his name. He still managed to make his way to London on the opposite side of the world. Of course, I had no idea why I moved heaven and earth to get here at that point. So how'd you end up becoming Lord Von Zeke's apprentice then? That can only be called an extraordinary stroke of luck, really. You see, I was stopped at the border because I had no papers. Took me straight to Scotland Yard. By sheer coincidence, Lord Strongheart was there to attend a meeting. That's when the second feather in my cap came into play. Could that have been your knowledge of the law? Yes, exactly. Lord Strongheart was curious about an Easterner with intimate knowledge of British law. He took me back with him to the Supreme Court and assigned me to the prosecutor's office. And then, 9 days ago... That's a sinister looking image. You finally got your memory back after the trial involving Drebber. Yes, I did. Ever since I first met you in Yume, you talked about your dream. Do you know the... Did you know the entire time? Oh, did you know the entire time about what happened to your father here? 16 years ago. Daw. When my father left on that exciting trip to Great Britain, I was just a boy. We took a photograph together the day before his departure. It's my last memory of him. But I remember most about my father, his unswerving sense of justice. 6 years after he left, a gentleman called at our family home. Told me that Genshin, my father, had been taken ill in England and passed away. It was Professor Mikotoba, your father, Susato-san. Oh my. Ever since then, the professor was very good to me. He even helped me to fund my university education at Yume. I'll be forever in his debt. But nevertheless, I just couldn't bring myself to believe what he'd told me. Oh. Sorry about that burp. Then one day, a letter arrived at our house from Britain. There was no indication of the sender, so I opened it assuming it's from an old acquaintance of my father. What I read in that letter changed my entire life. What did it say? It said that my father had been a mass murderer, and the writer cursed the Insoji name. No! As a result of that letter, I found out what had been hidden from me all those years. Presumably, the letter was sent from a relative of one of the victims. If whoever it was had been a member of the judiciary, he could have been present at the closed trial. The letter revealed that my father had been sentenced to death, executed for being a killer. I'm so sorry you had to find out that way. I imagine the British government did its very best to silence whoever sent that letter. As someone who knew the truth and couldn't bear the resentment was always going to be a problem. Still, yeah, it could have been written by anyone. Why would you believe such a thing? There's a newspaper cutting included with the letter. It's the first I'd ever heard of the professor and his terrible killing spree. Oh, what did my father have to say about the letter? I couldn't bring myself to show it to him. What? Why not? Because he deliberately concealed the truth from me by telling me my father was taken by a fatal illness. That could have been easy for him. He didn't know as a consideration for my feelings. So instead, I showed the letter to Judge Goku. To the other visiting student. He faltered for the briefest of moments, and he just laughed the letter off. But in that moment, I saw on his face, he was undeniably shocked, shaken momentarily before recovering his poise. A year later, my bereaved mother succumbed to the strain of grief. she too passed away. That's when I made up my mind that one day, without fail, I would cross the seas to Britain and seek the truth for myself. The truth about my father, Genshin Asogi. And I wouldn't let anyone stand in my way. Here's another drink. Oh, Kazuma-sama. What we learned today in court turned things completely on their head. It was an impressive piece of lawyering, Renosuke Naruto. Banzix is the Reaper, you know. I just don't want to believe it myself. It turns out that Inspector Gregson himself, the victim, was. It's clear the Inspector was behind the Reaper's activity all along. What? You mean you knew? The real question is, who's been giving orders to the Inspector? Yes, Barack von Zeeks is the real Reaper. And I know that 10 years ago, it was him who decided my father must be a mass murderer and sent him to his grave. No, he was merely saying that the justice was done as the law dictates. He's not to blame. Ultimately, it's the people who condemn people. The law is just a tool that they use to do it. And when a man condemns another, he must take responsibility for his actions. Of course he must. I know for certain my father would never have taken another man's life. Kazuma. On the contrary, my father's life was taken by the Reaper. Alright, let's look around here a bit. First of all, let's get jump scared by a bunch of bats. Ah! Disturbed the bats, did you? Fitting companions of Lord Von Zeeks, wouldn't you say? Actually, I've seen things flying in Lord Strongheart's office too. Doves, I think. They're pigeons. I mean, I guess dove is a type of pigeon. I might have said this before. I'm gonna say it again. Doves are just white pigeons. Perhaps you'd like to have birds that attain rank in the judiciary here. Although bats aren't birds, of course. How about a sparrow for you? What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Just thinking out loud. This is where you sit, don't you? Oh, I can't even examine it. Cast floor to ceiling, just like the last thing right here. Hollow barrels, I suppose. They're arranged according to vintage, flavor, and region. That's halftime in the football game, by the way. Every week, they're all taken out and put back in order. What? Every week? Lord Von Zeeks can't seem to settle on the perfect way of arranging them, you see. Vintage, flavor, and the region don't necessarily coincide, that's the trouble. Gosh. Being his apprentice must be a real challenge. Actually, no. No? He considers the task too important to entrust to anybody else. So he does it entirely on his own. He's a barrel of laughs here and in court, then. Ha ha. Ha ha. I wish that my bot was on, because then I could do the bot. Ha ha, but whatever. Do you know who the man in the portrait is?
Why would I?
What? But you're Lord Von Zeeks' apprentice.
Yes, apprentice, not friend. During the time I was suffering from amnesia, I didn't even notice that picture.
Oh, really? It's not the smallest picture.
I wouldn't have the first idea what that man decorates his office with.
Here's the crime scene. What the? It's a scale model of the crime scene. Oh, yes, I realized that. Does Does the prosecution office make a model of the scene for every single case?
Apparently so.
Some of them also apparently have chessboards with color-coded pieces for the prosecution and the defense. Yes, that's an Edgeworth reference. Sometimes you help visualize things better and notice things you haven't spotted before. Actually, the miniature notice board is my work. Be honest, you enjoyed making that. Anything else in here? Oh, the death. Oh, there's a chessboard in here. What am I? Oof. There's Lord Von Zeke's incredibly stylish desk. It's not my style, though. No, I've noticed you've been working at the little table on the floor, kneeling down Seiza style. I thought it was some kind of punishment set up by Lord Von Zeke's when I first saw it. I find it the most comforting way to work. I can't do it. It's come a couple minutes of sitting with my legs folded under me, they start going tingly. I just realized that the Ravens record is wrong. It's supposed to be 11-5. Well, that's gonna be embarrassing. So there's gonna be two embarrassing things with this stream. The freaking Ravens record is wrong. Second, in this version, but in the previous version, the audio is off. I think I'd take the record being wrong over. I think I'd take the record being wrong over the freaking audio. That's just me. I think I read that line. I'm pretty sure. Don't exaggerate, Reneske. You both know you can't even manage a minute. I mean, he struggled inside the freaking wardrobe on the ship. There's all of his hollow chalices. Yeah, his fine collection of hollow chalices and bottles all neatly lined up. Yes, he's extremely partial about all that. Strict regime for everything. The storage of the casks to the bottling of their contents. Gosh, he must be having a really tough time of it being his apprentice. Actually, no. No? He's so particular about it all, he refuses to let anyone else touch any of it. So it's been quite easy for me, in fact. But weird. Alright, well, I'm gonna check to see if I actually did present anything to him. I think I actually, yeah, I examined first. Looks like. I did present the badge. Oh, don't freeze on me, please. Thank you. I might have presented one thing. It looks like it did present. Looks like I presented one thing. Hang on. One thing that wasn't. I'm obviously not going to present. I'm obviously not going to present the thing that I presented in the next episode. Oh, I think I did. Looks like it did examine actually. Next. I randomly checked what age Cosmo was for some reason. Let's see here. Oh, and I did do the little haha when I showed when he did the barrel blast thing. Okay, and I showed him Gregson's photograph. Where is it? But that was just a generic text. Did I show him? Yeah, I showed him this, but that was also generic text. Showed him the notice board, which was generic. And I showed him this, which was generic. Did I just give up from there? No, I show him the dismissal notice, which was also generic. I did show a few things to him. I think I tried to show him the pocket watch there. Yeah. And that's where I gave up. Okay. So yeah, I'm not going to show him what's actually required here. There are a few other things that you do have to show him. Well, you don't have to show him, but he has other dialogue. No, I guess I could maybe show off one of them right now, even though I do show it in the next one. I guess, yeah, let's just do this. This will be the one time I show something in this one that's gonna show up in the next stream. So that's not the right button. I was shocked when I found out that they were related to the case, the Redhead League. I mean, personally, it wasn't their plan to swindle everyone that surprised me. It was the fact that so many redheaded people gathered from all over London that day. Some great detective being among them. I expect those two are in cells as we speak, wishing they never dreamed up the little plan. Or maybe they are busy plotting their next one. Alright, and our last stop is Mr. Vigil's hospital bed. I think this is actually getting longer than the actual stream, which is a surprise to me. I guess I have to explain a bit before we actually start this. This is the ward where Mr. Vigil was brought, apparently. To be frank, I'm a little worried about seeing him again. Oh gosh, his voice is the one I'm like the most scared of because like I don't. Again, it's been 2 years. I've completely forgotten. Well, not completely forgotten. I've forgotten most of the voices that I did. Mr. Vigil is the one I'm nervous about because he's exclusive to this case. I was like, what? What is his voice? Hallelujah! Hello again. Are you feeling better now, Mr. Vigil? If this is not the voice I was using before, then I apologize. I'm probably not gonna get perfect at all, but I'm gonna stick with it. Yes, thank you. Somewhat better. So sorry to have caused you to. It's because of me. If I didn't expose your secret and force you to remember the things you'd obviously tried to forget. The prosecutor was here until a few moments ago, too. You just missed him. We just talked to him. Cosmo beat us to it. He said much the same as you. He's very apologetic. But the truth is, I brought all this upon myself. Please don't think like that. Keeping it from Evie, my wife, all these years, I've carried such a sense of guilt. But That's not the worst of it. Over time, I've obviously came to see myself as well. I mean, about your dismissal? Looking back now, I'm beginning to think that perhaps Inspector Gregson didn't stumble across me by accident after all. I mean, he compensated me so generously for acting as his stand-in. He was clearly concerned for my well-being and doing what he could to help. Perhaps Gregson knew exactly what had become of Mr. Vigil all along then. I'm sure this is just deserts for tens of lies and deceptions, but it wasn't me that helped the prosecutors escape 10 years ago. It wasn't me. Also, you got the phrase wrong. It's just desserts, not just deserts. I swear it's true. Oh, Mr. Vigil. Sure, you'd rather not dredge up even more from your past at this time, but if possible, can you tell us exactly what really happened? I want to. Really need to get this off my chest. I just want somebody to tell me what I should have done. For one last time in the future, look at this badge! Mr. Vigil, would you mind casting your eyes over this? Oh, this is a generic text. Yeah, that's generic text. I like how he's grasping an invisible freaking. He's grasping an invisible desk. Oh, I almost just moved. Okay. Inspector Gregson was obviously engaged in a special operation of some sort. He was investigating something that even Scotland Yard couldn't know about. Details of the Reaper's marks, yes. It was when he had to carry out those investigations that would take his identification and impersonate him. He'd pretend to be the inspector and carry out the investigations on his behalf. Oh, never a common street pleasure couldn't possibly carry out a proper police investigation. All I would do was go to the specified location and make a little hoo-ha. Just something to leave an impression. So everyone there would think a detective called Gregson was here. So, that's what you're doing on the day prior to the incident. Yes. He asked me to make an appearance at the park on Lime Street for the Red-Headed League event. So as usual, I flashed the inspector's identification around and was very vocal about my presence. But then you were taken prisoner by those red-headed fraudsters! Yes. So you would always make a point of showing Gregson's identification and generally being loud. That's what the inspector told me to do, yes. Well, that's one way of becoming a legendary detective, I suppose. Not a good one, though. And as you know, I suffered this bruising around my neck at their hands. The following day, they kept their word and released me. Thank you for releasing me! Without returning the inspector's identification to you, however. We had arranged to meet in Fresno Street room at 5 that day so I could report back to the inspector. But the agreed time, that's when I heard the gunshot. It was at midnight on June 17th, 10 years ago. That was the time scheduled for the execution. But the professor's execution never actually took place, did it? Or rather, the execution itself must have been used to effect the plan of escape. I hardly dare to imagine what a chilling plan it was. Barkley was renowned for being the highest security prison in the country. Everything that went in or out of the place was searched multiple times. But there was one notable exception. Or rather, one notable loophole. Something that was never questioned. I have a feeling I know what that loophole was now. Coffins into which the bodies of the executed convicts were placed, correct? Yes. Once the coroner had confirmed the death of a condemned convict, the body was taken in its coffin for immediate burial in Lowgate Cemetery just behind the prison. The chief warder first had to sign the necessary papers. And after that, no member of the staff was permitted to touch the coffin containing the body again. And this is now officially longer than the original stream. When executions took place, only the executioner and the coroner were permitted inside the chamber. I would wait in the adjacent room for word that the condemned convict was dead. On that occasion, once I had that confirmation, I went into the mortuary to find a lone coffin, as usual. The procedure was that I would sign the paperwork having checked the coffin, then nail it shut. But for some reason that day, the coffin was already nailed shut. No! I didn't think anything of it at the time. I assumed that my deputy must have checked the coffin and nailed it shut before I arrived. So you mean the coffin contained? Yes. I can only imagine that Astergy, having escaped his execution somehow, was alive inside the coffin. The coffin was then taken out of the main gates and deposited in Lowgate Cemetery. Presumably there wouldn't have been enough air inside to breathe for long. So the earlier hours following the burial, somebody dug up the coffin again to set Genshin free. In the end, he was fatally shot in the graveyard anyway. I don't know what's really happened in Lowgate Cemetery that night, I wonder. I'm afraid I really don't know. All I can say with certainty are two things. Astergy couldn't possibly have escaped that way without help from somebody working in the prison. And that somebody is not me. Obviously, you knew the man then. The professor, I mean. Genshin Asogi. Yes, I remember him well, in fact. Would you mind telling us what you know? Well, having been condemned to death as he was, any contact I had with the man was short, obviously. After that trial, which was carried out behind closed doors, attended only by elite members of the judiciary, they called for his execution to be carried out at the earliest possible opportunity. The outcome of the trial was set from the beginning, wasn't it? It was a time of delicate diplomacy. Britain and Japan were in the process of signing an important treaty. That meant this potentially destabilizing case had to be dealt with swiftly and discreetly. The man had less than a week in total. As I was chief warder, I never saw a short stay in the cells until his final hour. I remember being struck deeply by his noble character and incredible resilience. What do you mean exactly? He was a killer of many men, but he was always quiet and polite. He was a gentleman and a man of intellect. In fact, I couldn't bring myself to believe what he'd done, so I asked him one day. Those 5 members of the aristocracy whose lives were taken, were you really responsible? Guilty of the unforgivable crime of ending another human's life, yes. The following day, the closed trial took place. The verdict was no surprise. Guilty. That night, when he was brought back to his cell, I saw something. Something unusual. Something unusual? What? The last will and testament of Genshin Asogi. As I said, it was on the night following his trial after he'd been found guilty. I was doing the rounds of the cells when I looked into Asogi's. Sogi's. I noticed that he seemed to have a sheet of paper in his hand. His last will and testament, then, I presume. As soon as he noticed me, he hurriedly shoved it behind his back. What? Why did you find that so unusual? Isn't that normal for a man to pen his will when he knows his death is nigh? Yes, that's true. There are special conditions to Asogi's incarceration, you see. What sort of conditions? Well, even though he was held in a cell designed for condemned inmates, he was allowed to keep his personal effects with him, with one exception. Really? He was allowed his things? That is unusual, certainly. Of course, he'd been convicted of killing 5 members of the aristocracy. But at the same time, he was a guest in our country from the Empire of Japan. Powers that were be determined that his foundation would be needlessly uncomfortable. And what was the exception you mentioned to the personal effects he was allowed? That's the point. He wasn't permitted to have writing materials. Specifically, no pens or paper. So, was he prevented from leaving any written record of what had happened to him? Yes, that was the long and short of it. No idea where he obtained that paper. Any writing materials should have been confiscated from him upon his incarceration. As I said, he had the paper behind his back and then he pleaded with me. Did you just hide behind your back? Please, please turn a blind eye. This is my lifeline. But, you know it's against the rules. You're the only person who's seen. If you'll just agree to keep quiet. Alright then. What's on that paper? A last will and testament. This will is. It states that the BAL Ravens have scored another touchdown. This will is the only weapon I have left now. How can a will be a weapon? So I decided to pretend I'd seen nothing. I let him keep his will. But then later, it just seemed to vanish without a trace. What? What do you mean it vanished? It would seem this isn't the end of the story of this mysterious will. Oh, okay, it was still going. I was the only person who saw Asogi's will, but somehow it disappeared. It was after Asogi's execution.
Which was actually an elaborate jailbreak.
The warriors gathered Asogi's possessions that were in his cell. They were all to be sent back to his family home in Japan, you see. Poor Kazuma-sama. And you're saying that it wasn't anywhere to be found amongst his personal effects? The will, I mean. That's right. No, I didn't search through them myself. Governor Kaded was livid. He was screaming that Kane have disappeared completely. That doesn't quite make sense though, does it? What way? Well, we'd understood if only Mr. Vigil was aware of his will's existence. In which case, how did the prison governor know to look for it? Oh yes, you're right! I really don't know how he knew. But it certainly seemed as though he knew of the will's existence from the outset. Only he didn't refer to it as a will. What he said was, Yosogi papers. Yosogi papers? I really can't tell you anything as the subsequent events. Because, well, of what happened. Your dismissal, and the way you blocked it all from your memory. I'd forgotten all this until today. I don't suppose it's relevant to the case, though. Well, anyway, thank you very much for sharing with us, Mr. Vigil. You're very grateful. I'm afraid there really is really little more I can tell you. My wife Evie will be here shortly, so I do hope you don't appear rude. But no, no, not at all. Thank you again. What will become of you now? Well, impersonating a police officer is a criminal offense, of course. I imagine that once I'm fully recovered, I shall be arrested. So sorry. Don't be, please. This is all my own doing. I always knew that this day would come. Well, I wish you well. Goodbye, Mr. Vigil.
Oh, before you go, there's just one thing.
Oh, yes? What is it?
Soggy papers. I'd be very grateful if you make no mention of the things I told you about them.
Presumably for some good reason?
It's my understanding that their very existence is a closely guarded secret. If it had become known that I had remembered, well, it could be rather troublesome, I think.
I understand. Some sort of will that Genshin Hisogi penned just before his death, which the man himself claimed was his last weapon. I wonder, perhaps it had something to do with his plan to escape. Is there anyone who might know about a document that Cosmo's father left behind?
I'd be Mr. Vigil's governor!
We know precisely where we must go. Back to Barclay Prison. And that, my friend, my dear friend, is where I ended the original stream. And it's where I'm going to end this recording. Thanks for putting up with me, even though, like, I went 2 years without fixing this mistake. Next time I present the thing that I missed to Kazuma, we'll be back blind again. We'll be back 2 years in the past. And there will be no more football scores. See you then. A little awkward to say that even though I've already streamed that. Bye-bye!